Introductions. My name is Shadd Whitehead. I'm a fire chief for Livonia Fire Department, City of Livonia. I'm also a task force leader for Michigan Task Force 1, and I also chair the Special Operations Committee for Michigan MABAS. So there's another gentleman that should be up here with me today, and unfortunately he cannot be. Dave McIntyre is our program director, our program manager for Michigan Task Force 1. He is also the program director for Special Operations for Michigan MABAS. He plays two roles. There's nothing more than he would like to be up here today. Unfortunately, the sad news this morning is that his wife had passed away. So he's unfortunately not able to be here. But please keep his family in your prayers. And I know during the invocation a little bit, I know Ray Honan will offer up some words as well. So with that being said, without any further ado, I want to introduce a host here in Groveland Township. And I want to introduce Supervisor Bob DeBahama. Oh, there's Bob. He's over here. Bob is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Bob.
Thank you. If you'd all please rise, the flag's over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Those that have a seat anyway. First of all, on behalf of Groveland Township, which is, for those of you who don't know, where you're physically located right now, I'm thrilled that all of you showed up today, and we're really ecstatic beyond words to be the new permanent hosts facility for MABAS's Michigan Task Force 1. We couldn't be happier that they're here. And for those of you who think you might have been here a while ago, you may have been. About 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, you're standing right now where the original gully run was for the new ORV park that's going to open up down the road next to Mount Holly. So this has been a real undertaking to get this done, and I just want to say that for people who think sometimes government can't work together, this is probably the best sterling example I've ever seen of both having the federal government, the state government, the county government, the fire marshal, all the dedicated personnel in this organization, and in addition to that, my local township government, because I want to thank my township board. They have just been 100% supportive of this, but everybody kept their eye on the ball, and in particular, our number one corporate citizen, Barry Bass, was instrumental in making this whole project happen. Someday when you have nothing to do and we're having coffee, at least, I'll tell you the whole story, but it's a phenomenal story to get this facility here the way it is, and so all of you, I'm welcoming you here to Groveland Township, and I hope you enjoy the day.
Thank you, Bob. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce retired chief and now public safety liaison for Belleville Restoration, Mr. Ray Honan, who will lead us in an invocation.
Thank you, Chief Whitehead. Good morning, everyone. Pretty good. I am so humbled and honored and grateful to be standing before a room full of committed servants. Truly I am. I am in awe as I look at all these faces. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, whatever your role is in life, for making a commitment to make it better. Whatever you do, we are obligated to do that, I certainly believe. Thank you again, Chief Whitehead, for this incredible opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I would like to recognize any veterans that may be in the house. If you're a veteran, if you've served our country and worn the uniform and worn the flag on your uniform, and wasn't it good to hear the Pledge of Allegiance this morning? Yeah, amen. It was. So I know veterans, I know you're shy, but that's okay. Would you please, where you're standing, just raise your hand if you've served in one of our 5 branches of the military. We would like to recognize you. There you go. Let's go. Thank you for your commitment to the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, even though you may have hung up the uniform, that we will never forget your commitment to the country, making it a better place to be, and certainly to your families that supported, tolerated, and nurtured you so that you could serve so incredibly well. the mood is certainly dampened with the loss of Paula McIntyre this morning. So as we continue this, let's please keep in mind that yes, while we celebrate, there are those that are not celebrating because they hurt and they've lost a loved one. I would also like to mention that so far this calendar year, 75 firefighters and 107 police officers have paid the ultimate sacrifice in the performance of their duties, and the figure of 107 also includes canine officers. So perhaps a brief moment of silence, and then we'll get into the invocation. Thank you. Please bow your heads. Well, good morning, good and gracious Father. We clearly recognize that you have graciously and wholly ordained this event. It is so good to be among like-minded servants. We are grateful for everyone that's traveled here, Father, and we ask for your blessings on this institution, all who serve, those who support our precious MABAS group and Michigan Task Force 1. Father, thank you for those who have made the commitment. And again, we ask for your grace and mercy, Father, over the McIntyre family this morning, and for those that are mourning because they've lost a loved one. We shall never forget their commitment, Father. And also for the 75 fire personnel and 107 police personnel, Father. We understand that you are in charge. We may not understand pain all the time, Father, but we clearly understand that your grace and your mercy and your favor is so much more greater than any pain we may encounter. Father, may our words, may we engage people, may we encourage people, may our speech provide hope, may our friendship provide comfort and the truth, Father. Thank you again for allowing us to gather as we go forth this morning. Amen. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ray. So as we get started with the program, I'd like to recognize some of our elected. Certainly with us today, which is we're just honored to have the presence of a few of our state elected. We have Secretary of State Ruth Johnson up front here. Ruth? No? We have State Representative Laura Cox, State Representative Mike McCready, and Representative Jeff Yark. We also have a representative from the governor's office who wasn't able to be with us today. I hear he's got a pretty busy schedule. And on behalf also of John Walsh from the governor's office, with us today is Tyler Sawyer. Where's Tyler? Back there waving. Okay, thanks, Tyler. He had a front row seat, but obviously, okay. So thanks for being with us today. Also, we've got quite a few local elected, so instead of calling by name, but I'd really like you to stand, and we'll just applaud for you, whether it's Rose Township, Addison Township, Groveland Township, of course. So would you just please stand to be recognized, some of our local elected officials. Thank you. Thanks for taking time out to be here with us. So as we kind of carry on, before I get too involved in the program in terms of some recognitions that we need to make, I want to give you a little bit of a historical perspective of Michigan MABAS, and then as well as the task force and the building of the task force, what you see before you today. I can tell you that even though we're going to do some recognitions today and probably call on a few people to come up to the stage, I certainly could not extend the many, many thanks of all the individuals that have been involved to get it to this point. There has been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears by so many individuals over the last 10 years, almost 11 years, to build what you see before you today. But from a historical perspective, just going to give you a snapshot of what Michigan MABAS is and what the task force is. This is the only thing I'll read. I'm typically not a reader, but I didn't want to mess this up, so. So Michigan MABAS was basically founded by leadership in the Michigan Fire Service when they recognized a need for a statewide mutual aid system to support local fire departments during incidents that overwhelm local resources. Michigan MABAS is a user-driven system designed to streamline mutual aid fire resources statewide for day-to-day mutual aid and large-scale events. As a result, Michigan MABAS was created pursuant to Michigan Constitution 1963, Article 7, Section 28, the Michigan Cooperation Act of 1967 as well. The mission of of MABAS is to coordinate the effective and efficient interstate and intrastate mobilization and deployment of fire resources using the best practices to an incident requiring additional resources and personnel. As the potential for disaster increases, an increased emphasis on preparation for weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, as well as explosive incidents, requires this type of aggressive response capability, which did not exist prior to the development of Michigan Task Force 1. To date, there is about roughly 26 divisions, MABAS divisions throughout the state. And each one of those divisions comprise itself of fire departments. Could be as few as 4 to 5, could be as many as 20 to 30. So there's 26 divisions now across the state as part of this framework in Michigan MABAS. It accounts for almost half of the fire departments in total across the state. Roughly about 450 fire departments now participate in MABAS. Michigan MABAS functions as a sponsoring agency also for Michigan Task Force 1. So they are, if you, in a sense, the club owner. Michigan Task Force 1 provides a FEMA Type 3 Urban Search and Rescue Task Force. And that capability can be sent anywhere statewide or in response to a request to another state as well through an EMAC agreement. As a sponsoring agency, Michigan MABAS provides the administrative and financial oversight for Michigan Task Force 1, and we'll talk about the financial side of what runs this task force in just a little bit. Michigan MABAS also serves as the liaison to the Michigan State Police and Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security Division for matters involving special operations for the fire service in Michigan itself, as well as MITF1. With that, Michigan Task Force 1 was really built in a response to the presidential directive in 2003. We started to look at our capabilities within the state and our ability to respond to large-scale events from an all-hazard approach. Certainly post 9/11 world, the focus was on WMD, but understand that the task force was really developed as an all-hazard, which means any type of incident that overwhelms local resources, we're able to respond and lend assistance. So that was really the design behind it. We talked about the level. There's different typings. Our Type 3 task force has a capability to work an operational period and basically fulfill any mission, no matter if it's building collapse, people trapped below ground, below grade, above grade, water surface rescue, floodwater rescue, wide area search. We have canine section, technical search section. So we can bring a lot of resources to the table and basically meet any mission downrange. Prior to the formation of Michigan Task Force 1, the emergency response system agencies lacked those resources and expertise to conduct effective USAR operations, and USAR stands for Urban Search and Rescue operations within these types of zones, hazard zones. In fact, the closest FEMA USAR task force, we are not a FEMA task force, we're a state-level task force. The closest FEMA task force to us is based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. Prior to the evolution of the task force and the building of this component or this resource, there was no other resource with the exception of other states to come in and assist us in large-scale events or disasters. So that takes time and energy to get them here. There has to be a state of emergency declared. There has to be a draft of a request through the Emergency Management Assistance Compact within the states to request resources from another state. And then at some point, if we're unfortunate enough, we would have a declaration from the federal government, from the President of the United States, which would open up resources, FEMA resources, and other federal resources to come here. So there are federal urban search and rescue teams, but typically those take 3 to 4 days to ramp up and reach you. And we know that many, many lives are lost early on in an incident. The greatest window of opportunity for us is in the first 24 to 48 hours to save people. So hence the reason that this task force was developed with vision from fire service leadership from across the state, as well as those in special operations, came together and designed this task force. The task force was put together with roughly $6 million of urban search and urban area security initiative grant funds, which were actually federal funds from the Department of Homeland Security that came down and filtered into the states that had designated urban areas. We fell under the Detroit urban area, which encompasses the city of Detroit and the 6 counties that surround the city of Detroit. From there, we were able to write grants over a period of about 5 years, working with the UASC board here in Michigan, Southeast Michigan, and we were able to procure funding up to about $6 million to help stand up this task force, what you see here. All the hard resources, all of the equipment, all the personal protective equipment, and so on. And we'll talk in a little while post that world of grant money now, because that money has now been, reduced over time, that there's a sustainment funding that runs this task force on an annual basis. And we'll talk about that sustainment funding in just a little bit. So we're no longer federally funded in terms of grant monies. It is all funded now through the state of Michigan. And we'll talk about the process by which we got there. So with that in mind, I'd like to kind of start off the formal side of the presentations today. And it's my sincere honor and privilege to bring up to the stage now Representative Laura Cox for a presentation. Laura?
I'm a little shorter. I just want to give a little shout out for Chief Whitehead here. He is a great champion on the local, county, I worked with him, and then on the state level. And when I first got elected 3 years ago, I served on appropriations with Representative McCready at the time, and I was told that I was given the honor, and Chief Whitehead, I guess educated me would be a word that I would use, on what I was supposed to do to take care of Michigan Task Force 1 and how I needed to make sure that we protected it in the budget. And so with the help of Rep. McCready and the Appropriations Committee, we made sure it was taken care of for 2 years in the general government budget, which I was really happy to do. And then this year again, on appropriations with Rep. Yarrick joined the team, we were able to make sure that we had funding included in this year's budget. So you have a great cheerleader in Chief Whitehead to make sure that all the people that need to know what you do and how important you are, they get to know about it. And we had the privilege of touring all these really cool, I guess, vehicles and hospitals and all sorts of things in your old home. And then we were supposed to celebrate this housewarming of sorts, and you all got deployed to do what you actually are trained and want to do for Hurricane Irma. So I was really pleased to know that we slapped it together again today, and I just want to give you a little I guess resolution, or we call them tributes up at the state, and for Representative Graves, because this is actually his district and he wasn't able to be here this morning, but just to say, thank you for all you do for the state. In today's world of TV and movies, everybody expects this to exist and they just don't know that it does and the people behind it. So I just want to thank you publicly for all that you do for us in Michigan to make us safe, and for throughout the country, which is obviously you guys got to do that, and we're really proud of you. So thank you so much for everything you do. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Representative Cox. Like I said, it is an honor to serve, and we're excited that we have such an unbelievable set of leadership in the state that has certainly, once informed about what the task force is about, really stepped up. And so, again, I appreciate you being here today, and thanks for the presentation to Michigan Task Force 1. Next, I would like to bring up our very own Secretary of State, Ruth Johnson, for a presentation.
Well, good morning. It is a great day to be here. I'm honored because of what has become of this property. I first of all want to take a moment to thank each of you for coming here today, and I do want to thank all of you that are first responders that every day are here to protect us. I would like to thank the fire chiefs that I've noticed have come from all over, and anyone here that has taken the time to put their life on the line for the rest of us. Really, this day is about supporting you. Michigan's lucky enough to have 30,000 firefighters across the state. Last year, they responded to more than 600,000 emergency calls and provided help to 22,000 people, which is enough to fill the Dort Event Center in Flint 3 times. Our firefighters and first responders are true Michigan heroes, and I'm grateful for their service. I'd like everyone to give them a hand. So this mobilization center represents readiness. It means that we can respond quickly when the need arises. It means we can coordinate and manage the distribution network of essential supplies. It means we can deliver equipment and personnel on a moment's notice. This building is literally 17,000 square feet, and it's a tool chest for first responders. And because of it, I think we can all sleep a little sounder at night. I want to take a moment to thank everyone that really made this happen today. I got involved in politics because of this very property. Over 30 years ago, one of the largest companies in the world wanted to put one of the largest toxic and hazardous waste facilities here in the mined-out gravel pit area that we knew would contaminate our water. We didn't even have a traffic light back then. The company spent $7.2 million fighting Groveland, but because the citizens came together with the local officials, I'm glad to say I'm not standing on a toxic and hazardous waste facility today. So it makes me proud of everything my local officials have done, and I do want to give a shout out to all my local officials that are here today. They never stopped working on this. They never stopped trying to make this a piece of property that actually helps people rather than hurts people. So to mark this great day, I have brought you an American flag that was flown over the state capitol last month on the anniversary of 9/11. It can fly as an inspiration to all that serve and as a reminder that this country is ours to protect.
Yeah, sure. Let's get a picture. Okay. Thank you. We'll get a picture right over here. Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's go up here then. Don't fall off. I got you.
I know you're a good responder.
A lot of first responders here.
Yeah, the quickest care ever, right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Well, it's boy, quite a day so far, right? Man, it was supposed to be about other people, not so much about us. So to kind of start to bring it back down a little bit, I wanted to start off with some recognitions. This is the part where we start to take a look at those individuals that have been so instrumental in bringing this together and putting together the task force in the past 10 years. It's been a long road, like I said, lots of blood, sweat, and tears. And by no means, just simply because I didn't mention somebody up here today, there's no way to mention everybody, but understand that the commitment, the level of commitment, the level of will, the level of passion to follow through with the vision has been unsurpassed in my career. I've never seen anything like it with so many good people that have a clear vision and work together towards one goal. And the goal is what you see before you today. So again, I apologize that I can't recognize everybody. We do as a task force, but certainly know that we know who you are. So with that end, I'd like to start off with a couple things. First of all, I wanted to talk about some of the awards that I'm going to present here just real quickly are for kind of the chronological order of how things happened with our task force and the building of our task force. When this task force was a vision, probably on a napkin, might have been at a bar, maybe, probably, most assuredly. That's where it started. It started as a vision. There was no allocations. There was no vehicles. There was no equipment. There was only an understanding of the need. We started out with a handful of people that were very clear on what their purpose was in developing a vision. And furthermore, there's a lot of people that have vision. The difference is there's people that have vision and there's people that can actually create the framework or the road on how they're going to get there. A lot of people have vision. Very few are able to put it together and bring it home. So I'm going to recognize some people here. They could not all be with us today, and that is unfortunate. There's other matters and family matters that have come up, but I want to start off with Chief Steve Ronk. Retired Fire Chief Steve Ronk was one of the founders of the Oakland County Technical Rescue Team. He was Fire Chief for Independence Township at the time. and he comes from a legacy before him of it running in the family. Chief Ronk had incredible vision on how to develop a USAR task force, and he really dedicated himself into researching how would that be and what would it look like, what would the components be, how would we do it. He maintained the will to develop, organize, and create the framework to build this task force, and he did so with just unbelievable detail. And although retired, Steve Ronk, retired Chief Ronk, is now our mobilization, he's our MOB Center manager. So he maintains, with the help of the logistics team, but he maintains kind of the readiness of the building, the grounds, and the facility itself. So Steve could not be with us today. He's with his mother today. But again, just a round of applause for Steve Ronk, Chief Ronk, and the recognition of his service.
I knew Steve Ronk. I was my old neighbor when I was in Clark, born and raised in Clarkson.
Wow. Well, thanks for being here today. Yeah. Very cool. The next individual I'd like to recognize is not with us as well, and that is the late Chief Bill Nelson. Bill was one of the founding fathers as well, and visionary for the task force. He was a mover and shaker amongst fire chiefs here in the state of Michigan. And in fact, if you talk to any chief here, he was the consummate professional, and unbelievably dedicated, unbelievably patient, which is not, for me, a virtue, but for Chief Nelson it was. A delightful personality with just incredible vision, and he was a cornerstone of that team. His ability to create relationships, his interpersonal skills, just above reproach, right, in terms of fire chiefs. A great mentor for me early on, because I'm this punk chief. Early on, I got a chance to meet him, and I was just in awe. And not a man in stature, but man, when he spoke, the room went silent when Chief Nelson spoke. Again, he was an early visionary. He was one of the individuals that put our team together over a period of years, and he actually was a team member as well and was a communication specialist on our team. He was very, if I'd say this, he was very techy. He was the tech guru, and in fact, he would be giving briefings and talking about radios, and we would just kind of like, we'd be looking around, and somebody would finally reel him in and like, Chief, can we talk? Oh yeah, you guys will be able to talk. We talked repeaters, 800, 400, low band, VHF, UHF. So he had more knowledge about communications equipment, and fortunately for him, we had him early on, and we had the privilege of having him in our task force to build the communications, to build our systems that you see today. So on behalf of Bill, I would like to invite up Bill's family is with us today, his wife Doris, and his 2 kids. Come on up, guys. On behalf of the Michigan Task Force 1, we want to say thank you for all the years of service with Chief Nelson. All right? So that's what you hold that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So it's so great to have the Nelson family with us today. One other individual I'd like to recognize, and this individual probably will not be very happy about it, but that's okay. So there's another individual that was part of this, kind of the founding fathers, if you will, kind of the team, and getting us off the ground. This individual was very, very instrumental in working with the UASC board at the time in developing the projects, which were really competitive at the time, writing projects and millions of dollars to the UASC board itself. And I'd like to bring up Chief Chris Martin. Where's Chris? Come on. So Chris obviously is on the task force with us. Chris is the chief of Sterling Heights Fire Department. Chris has been with us and foundationally since the beginning. He is probably one of our premier members in terms of tactical operations downstream, downrange, and that's where he likes to be, was the hands-on. And he mentors and coaches now as a rescue manager. So he has oversight of operations, all rescue operations downrange. So, and again, I think that Chris is probably, we have a lot in common. Kind of came in the fire service close to the same time. And again, he's probably, how many generations? Oh, three generations. I'm 4. But anyway, congratulations. There's another individual today that could not be with us, but I'll speak briefly about him as well. Again, with family today, and that is retired Battalion Chief Ron Zalaki. He is probably one of the founding fathers of technical rescue in the state. If you're in the fire service and you know anything about technical rescue, you know who he is. Ron Zalaki is probably one of the most renowned instructors actually in the Midwest, and probably one of the best in the country when it comes to trench rescue operations and excavation emergencies. And we were fortunate enough to have him on the team very early on. He was a retired battalion chief out of Pontiac, City of Pontiac Fire Department, back in the day. He then joined the task force, again, as kind of the early team that was put together on the napkin and started to build the conceptual side of rescue operations, what it would take, equipment, staffing, what the training would look like. And in fact, probably almost every single firefighter in this room, almost, was trained by Ron Zalaki at some point in their career in some type of rescue operation. Like I said, he's one of the most knowledgeable individuals I've ever met, and certainly one of the founding fathers for the task force itself. So he is now currently serving. He served real early on in the task force as a training and exercise coordinator for our task force. Has now left that position but still stays on our task force, and he too is a rescue manager seeing oversight of tactical operations downrange. So again, let's just give him a round of applause. I appreciate everything that Z has done for our organization. So the other individual that I want to recognize today, part of this team, and maybe in some respects some of the most difficult work. The fun work is talking about equipment and rescue resources and training and how to put this together. The really uncool, unsexy stuff is how do we get that done in a legal manner, right? That's the stuff that takes a lot of energy and people and somebody that's a lot smarter than we are. The individual that I wanted to recognize now, and I'll have her come up, is Julie Secondine. Julie, come on up. Where's Julie? So Julie's retired corporate counsel and risk manager for the County of Oakland. She played a vital role as both counsel and advisor for fire departments and mutual aid associations across the state over the course of her career. And now it continues with MABAS, Michigan MABAS, as well as Michigan Task Force 1. She's dedicated thousands of hours over the years in assisting our fire service to navigate the legal side of developing, writing agreements, reviewing procedures that involve or have the potential to create liability for agencies, writing bylaws, reviewing contracts, and the list goes on and on and on. Most notably was that she used all these talents to legally build Michigan MABAS and the task force. So on behalf of Michigan Task Force 1, thank you, Julie, for everything you've done. One of these too.
Oh, wow.
All right. Thank you, Julie. So the previous recognitions, they didn't get a cool sweatshirt because they already have cool sweatshirts. So the other individuals, and we do that on purpose. You'll see there's other job shirts up here. Obviously, uniforms represent that you're a part of something. Uniforms represent that you're a part of a team, no matter if it's a baseball team, no matter if it's a professional team, no matter if it's public safety. And certainly, the uniform that we wear here at Michigan Task Force 1 means something. We don't take it lightly. Individuals want to be part of that team. It's something they strive for. Not everybody gets the uniform when they first start out with Michigan Task Force 1. They have to prove themselves, have to meet certain qualifications and criteria, and at some point in time, they're hopeful that they'll be able to be part of that team. And as a recognition of that commitment as part of the team, they get to wear the uniform. That's how it works. So when we hand these job shirts out, to us, it's just not a sweatshirt or a job shirt. It means that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and something that you should be proud of, something that has shown that you've committed, that you're directed towards a common goal or mission. And so that's why part of what we're going to hand out today includes a job shirt, because for us, it means that you are part of the team. So without any further ado, I want to recognize right now, we're going to recognize some of our sponsoring chiefs. So what is a sponsoring chief? In order for this task force to happen, we have about 140 members in our task force currently. Of those 140 members, about 85% of those members come from fire departments. So these are firefighters who are cross-trained into rescue disciplines, whether it be technical search, hazardous material specialist, medical specialist, logistics specialist, communication specialist, technical information specialists, and the list goes on. Rescue specialists, water rescue specialists. These are cross-trained firefighters, which means these firefighters are at the top of their game. These firefighters are typically high performers within their own organizations. They want to be challenged. They want to be part of something much bigger. And that's why we're fortunate to have chiefs allow their personnel to be part of this task force. Through an MOU, that host organization chooses an individual to represent them, an ambassador from their organization to be part of this team. And so I want to recognize right now all those sponsoring chiefs out here that come through the door, snuck through the door, forgot to write their name down. We just want to give you a round of applause and show our gratitude to you. So please raise your hand, chiefs. If you're a sponsoring chief, if you have a member on the task force, please raise your hand. As a token of our appreciation, to you, we have the highly valuable Michigan Task Force 1 tumbler. Okay, so I mean it is sought after. So I would make sure that you hold on. You do not set it down, because there's going to be another task force member that's going to scoop it up. I guarantee that. I'll keep close tabs on it here. So please keep your hand raised so that you receive one. Again, I appreciate all that you do for our cause here, because without you as sponsoring chiefs, this would never happen, right? Because it's about the people. So the next group that I'd like to quickly identify and recognize is that through the process, this has not been, although it looks really cool right now, and trust me, it is pretty cool, but it took us a long time to get here. This nice concrete, these walls, we finally, it starting to feel like home now. This was like curtains in a house, right? It starts to feel like home. But there were some bumps in the road. Let's take you back to 2012. In about 2012, through about 6 years of grant funding through the UASC board, which was federal funds that came down, like I said before, through Department of Homeland Security to the UASC region here, we were notified by the board that there would no longer be any sustainment funding for the task force. Okay? Little shocker there. So we've got $6 million worth of equipment. We have at the time we were leasing a hangar at Oakland International Airport, a hangar that was about 15,000 square foot, about the same size as the footprint here, maybe a little bit smaller actually. And we were told that, hey, by the way, next year, no more sustainment funding in 2012. So all of a sudden, obviously, before the panic ensued, we started to develop, okay, we got to solve this problem, right? Let's solve the problem. But the issue is that to solve a problem like that takes time. Relationships, education, right? We were running out of time. And in fact, we didn't have enough funds to put fuel in the vehicles, change a flat tire, buy a windshield, insurance, let alone a rent payment. So there were many things at that point in time that for us, we were placed in not a very good position. This next group is a group that, without hesitation, said, hey, I think we can help you guys, at least keep you on your feet. In essence, life support. Through our relationship with Belfour Restoration, Belfour stepped up and said, hey, we understand there's a need, and we want to fill that need. We want to be a part of this, as partner with you to keep you going, because this is too important not to exist, right? So what can we do? And usually, most businesses, most private sector businesses ask the question before they answer it. The first question is, okay, what's the cost? Hold on, what's the cost? Their first question is, how can we help? Of course, our reply was, need some cash. Need a little funds. Got to put fuel in trucks. Got to pay for things that break down. At least sustain us. So I'd like to bring up Sheldon Yellen from Belfour Restoration and the Belfour team. Come on up. Let's give them a round of applause for them providing to us. So them providing to us a check hand delivered from Belfour for $25,000 to keep us afloat until we could get things worked out. So on behalf of Michigan Task Force 1, I want to say thank you to Belfour for your partnership and being a part of something much bigger than Belfour itself. And Belfour's pretty big. But we just so appreciate you providing life support to us at a dire time and committing to us without any questions. So thank you very much, Sheldon. Thank you. Give that to your team. Get in there. All right. No, you're good right now. All right, and also we have for you guys, obviously, I'm going to hand these out like this. There you go. And let me give, hold on. Oh, there's Sheldon right on top, as it should be. So. All right, I'll hand these over to Ray, Coach. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm a little shorter too. Chief, thank you so much for so much, and what a great speaker, don't you think? I mean, this guy is killing it. This past Friday night, I was honored and asked to speak at the Staff and Command graduation at Eastern Michigan University. And at the speech, I made a few comments, and somebody asked me here today, they asked a few questions about the speech. They said, were you really on the streets of Detroit? Did you really start out being raised by your mother on welfare? I said, yeah, I was on the streets of Detroit. Yes, I was raised by my mom on welfare. And you were really upset that your son wasn't with you, weren't you? And I said, yeah, I was. Because I've been talking to my kids for years about how to get through life. And I said, always go out of your way and surround yourself with heroes. And years ago, Brandon asked me, well, how do you know who is and who isn't a hero? And I said, you don't look at the size of somebody, you don't look at the color of their skin, you don't look at their stature in life, you don't look at what they do or don't do, you look at one thing, you look at their heart. And you will know who a hero is and who a hero isn't. And I just want to thank you, Chief, and I want to thank all of you that run in when we're running out. And I want to thank all of you that do what most people wouldn't do. And most of all, I want to thank you for being here so that my kid can look around this room and see real heroes. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon, for sharing a few words with us. So now it leads me to a point in time. Once we got through our crisis and were put on life support, thanks to Belfour Restoration, we started the process of beginning to interact and develop some relationships with our elected in Lansing. And part of that team was, at the time, Representative John Walsh, who was Speaker Pro Tem at the time, Representative Mike McCready at the time, as well as Senator Colbeck, was kind of a group that we had established where, in terms of those in Lansing, were certainly individuals that had their work record preceded them in terms of what they were able to get done. And we knew these were individuals that we needed to kind of get to. And we invited them out to the Mobilization Center, which at the time was out at the hangar at Oakland International Airport. And we began to educate. And I believe the words were, between yourself and John, initially were, "You're kidding me. Where did this come from?" Right? Something to that effect. And we took the next hour and a half of their day, and we educated them about what Michigan Task Force 1 was all about. And by the end of that day, they left there, and their closing statements as they walked away were, "We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, because we cannot not afford to have this in place." So from then, we went to a period of time where we came into the state budget as a line item, and things moved along really well. But in Lansing, as you all know, there's term limits. So with term limits come new challenges. Constant education, right? Meeting with representatives and legislators to inform them about who we are, to educate them. And so since that point in time, I know Representative Cox spoke about earlier, that she was kind of given the direction by Representative McCready, Representative Walsh at the time, about, hey, this is something you really need to look at, and we need you to kind of pay attention to as Michigan Task Force 1. And we've had an opportunity over many months and the years now to talk and share some time. And so certainly Representative Cox now is in a position and has a huge proponent for us in the state legislature. And we just want to thank all of them. And the nice thing is now incoming Rep. Yark is another individual now that we get to now add to the team, right? That gets to carry us for a number of years. So it's really great that we start to put together this team. And the great thing about Rep. Yark is he comes from the fire service. So he knows, he understands. It doesn't take as much education, which is great, because he gets it. He served for many years in a different capacity in public safety in the fire service, and now as a retired and now up at the state. And we're just really excited about those that have stepped up for us. And so I'd like to bring up now, with any further ado, those three. Come on up, representatives, as well as Tyler from the governor's office. He's here representing John Walsh, so come on up, Tyler, as well. And let's give them a round of applause.
Beautiful.
And this is Tyler. You get to hold John Walsh. John Walsh is now the director of strategy under the governor's office. Once he was term limited out, the governor brought him into the cabinet, and he fulfills that position now. And then I also have one for the governor, since he signs every two, right? So, right? So anyway, let's get a picture here real quick. Great, thank you very much. Here you go.
More clothing. Every time I show up, you're putting clothes on my back.
Right?
Thank you.
So it's just when you retire, you need that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, thank you.
We also have Senator Colback couldn't be with us today, but certainly he was a player for us as well, and making sure that we started off on the right foot with our funding from the state. So the last of the recognitions I'd like to do, as again it's kind of chronological. There's some very key individuals that made this happen in terms of this place, and I know that he was up here earlier, and that's I'd like to now recognize Supervisor Bob DePalma. Where did he go to? There he is. Come on up, Bob. So, Bob, the discussions went something like this as we were looking for a home. Again, our second crisis, we had our first crisis, Belfort the Rescue. Second crisis was we were informed that our lease at the hangar, which we had been in for at least 9 years, was they were not going to renew it. They had sold the hangar, new owner, and we're going to use it for aircraft now, right? The economy's back, it's doing well, and so by the way, no more hangar, and so you have to find a new home, and we want you out by October, all right? So we have a number of months to try to figure out what do we do next? Where do we go? So we put a plan together. It was ugly. It was effective, but ugly at first. We had to split the cash up with the task force and split that cash up amongst different fire departments. Not the best approach, obviously, from an operational perspective, not very efficient, but we had to find some place to house the equipment and everything you see here. So we did that for a short period of time and then began to engage the supervisor here, engage Bob, and engage Chief McGee, who came to the table and said, hey, I think we can help you guys. What do you guys need? What is the need? And from that point forward, worked on the details, worked on the legalities, worked on the contracts, to make this happen right here. So on behalf of Michigan Task Force 1, Bob, thank you for everything that you did for us and making this new home for us possible.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Picture? All right, so yeah.
If I can, let me.
This is your board.
All right. Yeah, I don't know if Barry's made it here yet. I guess I have a couple of people I'd like to recognize because this was a really unique deal to be able to put together. I still shake my head and not quite sure how we did it, but first, I guess I'd like to give this to our board because all of my board was in complete support of this. And Diane, I know you've since retired, but you were an integral part of this, so thank you. And Marilyn, you've always been there supporting us. And the rest of the board, Pam, there you are. And is Dave back yet? I'm not sure. Dave Axe, our treasurer, and we also have Dale Cason, our other trustee. All of them were in 100% of this package. And it was very unique to put it together. I still shake my head, and I'm not quite sure how we've had that happen. But I'd like to thank all of the board for also being a part of this program. And now I know, Steve, you're around here somewhere. Where are you, Steve McGee?
Steve McGee, right there.
Come on up here.
I'll let you back.
There are hundreds of people that have made all of this work, but in this building in particular, there's two people that I think were really critical. And the one that I would like to say is, I think, the spark plug, and I mean that in the best way, is Steve McGee, because Steve has always got his ear to the ground trying to figure out what can we do that'll be better, what will help the township. And he is the instrumental person who got my ear to talk about doing this. So, Steve, thank you very much, and I have to give you the other one. All right. This is done by a number of different people, in case you don't realize that. So there were a lot of folks that were involved in it, but I wanted to take this opportunity because we weren't sure what was going to happen, especially after the original date for September the 11th got postponed. But Steve, this plaque reads the Steve McGee 9/11/17, which was the day that you don't know, but today's actually 9/11 because that's the day we were all supposed to be here. For his outstanding leadership and effort to bring MABAS to Groveland Township, the Groveland Township Board, citizens are grateful for your leadership and involvement in making a new home for MABAS in our township. So, Steve, thank you very much. Barry Bass, and I don't know if he's made it here. I don't know if you know, but Barry also has a business that does cleanup and disasters. So as MABAS was coming back from Florida, Barry and about 27 of his guys were going down to Florida. And so I don't know if he's made it in here. I haven't seen him get in, but this plaque and the other one I have over there, similar to Steve's, is for Barry Bass because he is really the consummate corporate citizen in a community, and certainly in our community. Without Barry Bass's foresight and frankly without his financing, we wouldn't be standing here in the building. We'd still be outside with the shovel digging the hole for the first part of it. So this is for Barry when he gets here, and I know he's on his way, but he had to go to a closing this morning. So for Barry Bass, I'd like an applause. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So as we kind of move forward, the last individual I'd like to bring up and the last group I'd like to recognize plays one critical part for us, and that is our ability to train, and our ability to have resources that take our people to the next level in terms of being able to practice techniques. They also contribute personnel to the task force. I said before, about 85% of the task force is made up of cross-trained firefighters. The other 15% are actual private members. Private members who want to be, again, a part of something bigger than themselves. And these private members make up positions like canine search, whether it be live find or cadaver. We have doctors. I have a couple here today. They're private members. We have structural engineers, which we have here today. You get a chance to see them later on. But we also have heavy equipment and riggers. These heavy equipment operators play a crucial role in our ability downrange to work in heavy construction, moving large loads, crane operators, excavators, grapples, maybe running a skidder. These guys are invaluable to us as a task force. And I would like to ask Lee Graham to step up from Operating Engineers 324 out of Howell. Where's Lee? Come on up, Lee. So there was a misspelling. Imagine that. And so we have a plaque that's going to be re-engraved for operating engineers. But at least I want to get him a sweatshirt. And also, could the HERS guys, we got some HERS guys, raise your hand, just show us where you're at in terms of the task force. A couple of our HERS guys, 324 operators, thank you very much for being a part of it. All right, so we're near the end of our program now. Everybody's like, thank goodness, because I'm dehydrated. So we're going to kind of finish off with two things. Before we get to the actual ribbon cutting itself, and there'll be a little bit of direction with that with a crowd this large, but we'll try to make this happen. We talked about earlier about one of our founding fathers, and that was Chief Bill Nelson. Chief Bill Nelson had completed the mission, fulfilled what he was designed to do here on Earth, and the Lord took him home on June 12th of this year. And but because of his dedication, his professionalism, and the will to design Michigan Task Force 1, we want to dedicate the Michigan Task Force 1 communications room, which is inside that room, that houses all the technology for us to be able to communicate by design, at his design. We're going to dedicate that room, and it will now be called the Chief Bill Nelson Communications Room. And knowing Bill, Bill would be very, because he was so just a man of humility. He would not like the attention. He would not like the pictures. He would not like the right. He would not like any of that at all. So I can imagine he's up there right now going, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now?" And this is Bill in all his glory. The smiles that I saw on Bill's face, but when we trained, we got to exercise, and we sure missed him on this deployment. And but I know he is proud as he looks down and sees us here as a task force in our new home. And I'll never forget, probably the happiest and the biggest smile that I ever saw on Bill's face is when him and I sat across from each other on a Blackhawk, a UH-60 Blackhawk, that we got picked up by Oakland International Airport to go on an exercise up near Camp Grayling. And we got a chance to load a helicopter together, sit across from each other to be part of the forward team. And he had more gear on than that. And we had a great conversation as we yelled to each other, and he just kept looking out the window and just biggest smiles, like, man, this is what it's about, right? Being able to go help people, to train to help people. And so again, thank you to the Nelson family for being here today. All right, as we close out, I'd like to bring up again Ray Honan to give a blessing over the new mobilization center, and then we'll have a ribbon cutting. So, Ray?
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Nelson family. You make this place a better place to be. Thank you. To Michigan MABAS, to Michigan Task Force 1, to elected and appointed officials, friends and family, to my colleagues, you matter. You matter. You matter when you were formed in your mother's womb. You've mattered every day since then. To Michigan Task Force 1 and other public safety personnel, I assure you that when your commitment is done wearing the uniform and you hang it up, that you will matter. Please don't forget that. We are so grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for our public safety professionals here today. Let's bow our heads and give thanks. Heavenly Father, it's close to being overwhelming. And in a room full of nurturing, caring, sacrificing, loving relationships, we think of you and your awesome blessings. Again, not capable of understanding everything that goes on in this incredible journey we call the gift of life, but we are grateful. Father, for today, this incredible building, the assets, the personnel, the families, the elected and appointed officials who support, tolerate, nurture, and encourage those who will respond when they are activated, we thank you for their equipment. Father, for every member, future, past, and present, thank you for giving them your spirit, your will, your desire to serve. As good as we are, and humbly, Father, we're good, what would service look like if we used you every day, on duty and off duty, as our model? Father, again, for your many blessings, thank you. When we complain, please forgive us, because when you gave us life and this incredible gift and a personal relationship, you gave us everything we'll need. Father, when they serve locally, when they serve around the country, wherever they're dispatched, Father, we give thanks in advance, for we know that you will guide them, bless them, give them your spirit of service, and allow them to return freely, safely, as humble, committed servants. Thank you for this community, Father, for this county, for the great state of Michigan, and for the United States of America. Father, this is a room full of patriots, and I am grateful to be here in their presence for every good and great thing. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Amen.
All right, so that concludes the formal part of the ceremony. So a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to my boss, Mayor Dennis Wright from the City of Livonia. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for being here today. And so for all of those that were recognized, you received a plaque, sweatshirt, both. Just as a housekeeping piece, before you leave, next to the stage, to my right, on your left, there'll be two boxes. One box has sleeves for your acrylic plaques to slide into, so they don't get trashed on the way home, because I know that's what happened with mine. I don't have one. I'm just saying, if I had one. Also, there's a tumbler, so you guys get a tumbler too, the coveted tumblers. So please grab one out of the box on the way out. I didn't want to give you too many things to walk back to your seat with. So with that housekeeping item out of the way, so we're going to do the ribbon cutting next. Post the ribbon cutting. Once that's done, feel free to tour. There's food, cake, coffee. Our guys would love to engage you, talk about their section, what they do, what their mission is. So please ask questions, roam around. They'd love to engage you guys. And so here's the attention to detail for the ribbon cutting. All right, we're going to do it indoors. This will be the backdrop on the wall here, Michigan Task Force 1. These chairs, as soon as you actually stand up, I have a group coming in to take these chairs away. And we will have we'll set out the ribbon from right to left here. You'll see, I like the elected officials, state elected, local elected, sponsoring fire chiefs, all right, and then everybody else kind of filter in, task force members, and everybody else, okay? And we'll be taking the picture in this direction, all right? Very good. Ready? Break. All right. Coming here with you guys. Yeah, come on. All right, so here we go. So we're actually not going to cut it yet. Everybody can grab the ribbon. All right, those of you in front. All right, and we're just doing a few photo ops here. We're actually not going to cut it yet. What? Everybody got their photos? All right.
Oh my goodness.
I know, right? Excited. Gonna go search for something. Yeah. We're all excited. All right, so on the count of 3. Ready?
Now I'm doing it. Make sure you look up when you do it.
You want to cut partway through? You could relax just a little. Take a sip. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Enjoy. There's cake, coffee, help yourself, lots of snacks. Please peruse. Please engage the guys. Love to tell you about what they do. I didn't see a lot of debate. can see, I've been down the road here.
The medic center? Yes, this is the medical specialist trailer. Yep.